Hey Fae folk, welcome back. So for today's video, we're going to be doing another doll tournament, and this one is the biggest one we have done by far. Now, before we get into it, I do want to just apologize if my voice sounds kind of off. I feel like I sound off to my own ears, so I'm sorry if it sounds that way. I do feel like just slightly under the weather. It's really not anything bad. I just like have a little bit of a sore throat because the temperature and like air pressures and everything have been going crazy over here, and my body does not like it. So I'm fine, but I did just want to apologize if I'm like maybe a little bit more soft-spoken than normal. Rest assured, I am just as enthusiastic as always. But yes, so if you haven't seen the little series of videos that I've done where I do doll tournaments, it's where I take a theme that is very common amongst different brands and we do a tournament style video with that theme. So far we've done Pajama, Swim, Hollywood, and Winter, which obviously are all pretty common doll themes. Like definitely a bunch of different brands have done dolls in those themes. So the way that we like run these is I'll make the little tournament style bracket, and then I will run polls on my community tab where you guys get to vote on who you think is best. And at the end of it all, we get to crown a winner and say, hey, this brand made this type of doll the best. So for today's video, as I said, bigger than any of the others because we're not doing like a theme strictly, we're doing signature lines, and like literally every doll brand has a signature line, right? Like the first dolls that they put out. But this one I just thought would be very interesting and very exciting to see. It was a suggestion from one of you guys, so thank you for putting that out there. So we did have 16 contestants, which I know it's a lot. It's double what we've done before. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce them all. I am sorry if like this takes just a second, but we have a lot to get through, and it's only fair if you guys know who the players are. And then at the end of it, we'll be able to say who had the best signature lineup. So let's get into it. So first off, we do have all three generations of Monster High. Taking a look at the first wave from G1, like the very, very first Monster High dolls. I do think that these are super solid and honestly just like so iconic, right? Like you really can't deny, even if you're not a fan of Monster High, how much this release shaped and changed the doll world, like both playline and collecting and all of that jazz. Laguna's definitely my favorite. I think Dracula is a close second. I do have both of those dolls in reproduction form, so I am a little bit biased. I also think Cleo's really cool. Deuce is nice because he's a male doll that actually looks like he has some sort of style. And Claudine and Frankie are fine too. Like I'm not trying to bash them. They're just like not quite my favorite, but overall, again, just such an iconic lineup. Then when it comes to G2, a little bit less enthusiastic, but like the initial wave of G2, I do think was far from the worst things that they've put out. I think that this Laguna's outfit is actually really cute if it weren't for the fact that I'm pretty sure the shirt and shorts are like sewn together. So it's not a romper in the sense that it's stylistically supposed to be a romper. It's just sewn as a romper, even though it's supposed to be different pieces. But visually, I think it's cute. I actually think this Claudine looks pretty good. Like I like her silhouette of like the pants and everything that she's got going. The others are sort of definitely not their strongest showing. And then G3, y'all already know I have a huge G3 bias. Even the first line, like I will obviously admit that it's not the best line that G3 has put out. Like they have improved on so many different things. But also, I do own 4 out of the 5 dolls pictured here. So even like their first line, which again, I know it wasn't their best, I still really, really liked. The Cleo, Draculaura, and Laguna I bought immediately. I got the Claudine a little bit later. And overall, I think, you know, for me, again, y'all already know I adore G3. So this was such a fun comeback for Monster High. Then to move away from Monster High to their sister brand, we have the first wave of Ever After High. So like the first core group of the Royals and Rebels dolls. I do think this is a really, really strong showing for a first line. Like sometimes, you know, brands come out with stuff and it's like, ooh, the first line was kind of iffy and then they found their footing later. And like, I do have other Ever After High lines that I prefer to this first wave. But I think it's really impressive the amount of detail and design and everything that was already present from the get-go with these. Unquestionably, Maddie is my favorite. She's my favorite character, so I am a little bit biased. But all of the other ones too, like just the details on their outfits. And again, with Hunter here, you can see a boy that actually has some sort of style and like detail put into his outfits. So another one that I think is just really, really solid. Okay, I don't know if this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but the first wave of LOL OMG, not a huge fan of them. I always say this, I'm so bad at OMG names. So we're just going like left to right here. So the one with like the blonde braids, she's my favorite. I think she's really cute. I like the outfit and everything. I wasn't collecting dolls when these came out, so I don't have her. And honestly, it took me a while to come around to OMGs anyway. But in hindsight, I'm like, yes, she is quite cute. The one that's like got the brown afro and like the black outfit, I do think is also a pretty decent doll. Like, I don't have any active complaints about her. She's just not really my style, so I wouldn't necessarily get her. Then I do know Neonlicious because I love her Fierce doll. That is an infinitely better design, in my opinion, for her than this original one. So I can't really get behind this, but power to you if you like that one. And then the last one I have always really disliked. I don't like poodle bangs on dolls, just in general. I don't think that it looks cute. Obviously, you're free to disagree, but like just for me, it doesn't work. And I really dislike the color that they went for with her hair because it's so blonde that it verges on green and it doesn't feel intentional. Like, I honestly think it would be a cool color to do on purpose, but it looks like an accident. So I definitely think there are other OMG lines that are significantly better than their first wave, but on the bright side, I will say they had like amazing detail from the get-go, so there's definitely that that's going for them. Then we have the tweens, and honestly, I would say sort of the same thing. Like, there are so many other better tweens lines, which is honestly kind of interesting because realistically speaking, I mean, this is like a sister brand to LOL Tots and LOL OMG, but OMG had already been going on for so long, and like these are the same dolls, just like shrunken down, right? Like they are. It's. I feel like it's the same process to design for a tweens doll as it is for an OMG doll. So it is kind of surprising to me that the tweens first line maybe wasn't as strong as I would have expected it to be. Because in my head, it's like you have all this practice with the OMGs. So even though this is a first line, it shouldn't feel like a first line. Does that make sense? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Going again left to right, one in the pink outfit, not my style. I don't think she's terrible, but she's not my style. Then I actually do know the name of the second one, Freshest. She's really cute. I thought about getting her a few times and I just never bit the bullet, which is fine. Then I also do have Hoops Cutie. I know her name and I have her. That's one that Tony actually picked out because he wanted to do a doll review, or I asked him if he would do a doll review and he agreed. That was his first appearance on the channel and he had picked her out to do the review for. So a little bit of like nostalgia memories with that one. And then the last one, again, not a terrible design, not a terrible doll, just not really my style. So across the board, overall, I would say this line is just kind of to me. But again, I do have to give points for like at least the detail and the theming and all of that. Okay, then the Rainbow High dolls, their first line, I think are so interesting just because I feel like this first wave is decently clowned upon now just because we know that Rainbow High could get so much better. We've also seen that they can get so much worse, but that's besides the point. But I think for like when they came out and everything, this honestly was a really, really strong showing. It would have been even stronger if they'd had more diversity in this lineup. But looking at like the clothes, the fact that all of these dolls came with 2 outfits, this was a really solid first drop in my opinion, again, minus the diversity issue. And also, this was another one that I think, I didn't really mention it with OMG, I should have, but Monster High's first launch, OMG's first launch, and Rainbow High's first launch, I think are some of the like most impactful launches that we've had in recent like fashion doll history. Bratz would also be up there for sure. I don't know, maybe even my scene. I'm getting off on a tangent, sorry. But these dolls came out when there weren't that many other fashion dolls on the shelves besides Barbie and OMG. And so they definitely did feel like a bit of a reset. So I have to give them their flowers for that. Speaking of iconic lines, the Bratz first line. I will say, okay, Jade is my favorite. I have come to like Yasmin a little bit more in this first launch, but overall, Bratz just had so many other lines that were so much better. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with these. And I think they were a good, like, first start for the Bratz line. But they just got so much astronomically better. It's, like, not even funny. So looking at it, I'm like, oh, these are kind of simple. Like, I know they could do more. Definitely not a bad line. But it wouldn't even crack, like, my top 10 or maybe even my top, like, 15 or 20 Bratz lines. My scene, as I said, also fairly iconic. Also one that I definitely don't think their first line was anywhere close to being their best. I do love this Madison doll. I think she is absolutely gorgeous. The other two pictured here, I feel very nothing burger about. Like, they're just kind of there to me. Obviously, no shade if you love them. It's just, for me personally, I'm kind of like, whatever. I definitely like hold with the fairly popular consensus that my scene got significantly better, like around the bling bling and like post bling bling era. That to me is like the My Scene reset, like the iconic lines, like that and like Masquerade Madness. I don't actually know when Masquerade Madness was released, but like those are lines that I think of when I think of My Scene. This first lineup, it's just not working for me. Like it's not as impressive to me. Then we have Mermaids, which is such a complicated one. I don't want to like go on too long, but I will say the like packaging issues with these dolls, the heavy price tag, the faces that look wildly uncanny in photos and videos. Like I do think they look so much better in person, but having a doll that doesn't photograph well, even for like stock photo purposes, that's not going to help you sell dolls, right? I think these had a lot of detail and sometimes it was really fun and sometimes I think the theming got a little bit weird. So, yeah, this first wave of mermaids really wasn't like it for me. Winter Waves, the second one, infinitely better in my opinion, but they weren't horrible. They had some issues. Okay, I feel like this also might be a little unpopular because I feel like Dream Besties is doing pretty good, but the first line for Dream Besties, I'm not vibing. I think the like recent skating line is so cute, but this first one, like all of the base dolls are honestly fine. It's just I think every single outfit has something wrong with it. Like it's just not the vibe. So for me, not a great first launch. Then we have the Magic Mixies Pixlings. And if you know anything about me, you know that I love these dolls. From this first lineup, I only have one I have dearly. The other two just didn't appeal to me personally, but like I still can recognize that the designs are pretty cute, pretty well executed. So for a first line, I think this is really good. Like I do think the Pixlings have improved since then, but not in such a drastic way as some of the other lines have. And I think that is like a testament to how good they were right out the gate. Mermaid High. I wanted to love these so much. I got Mari. She's like the sort of like punky looking one. And the quality just was not there for the price point for me. But looking at just the designs, I honestly think these are super solid dolls. Very like, in theory, what I would want from a mermaid doll. Again, like the quality is what sort of put me off from them because they felt very cheaply made. Like the plastic did not feel sturdy at all. But the fact that they had like these removable fabric tails, they were so intensely thematic. Like each character had such a distinct style. They did come with like a skirt so you could have them properly in their human form. And also the tails don't look ridiculous being on their bodies because like some removable tails look absolutely silly. I thought these looked really good. I love me a huge like fin on a mermaid doll. I wanted to like these. Aesthetically, I do think that they are a really solid showing for a first line. It's just the quality I could not get past. And then we have Novi Stars, another one that I think had a really solid first lineup. And to be fair, this is in no way me like wanting to take away anything that the designers accomplished making these because like it obviously took talent to design these dolls. But I do think that given the theme of little alien dolls with like funky gimmicks, it would be really hard to mess this up so badly that it ends up being a bad first line, in my opinion, because it's just, there's infinite possibilities for what you can do with a theme that is literally aliens. That's so fun, so cool. And given the theme, I do think that they really knocked it out of the park with doing just interesting stuff with their first launch. Two more to go. So first is Not Enough Surprise. I can't really pinpoint anything that I think is horrific about this first lineup. Just none of them really appealed to me. I didn't get into or like buy any Nananas until after the first line. So in my opinion, completely inoffensive, but not really stand out. And then lastly, to round out the group, we have Bratzillas, which is another one that I honestly think had a pretty solid run for their first lineup of dolls, just because looking at them all, they do all have like different color stories, different silhouettes and accessories and outfit pieces, and they all feel like they have a very concrete sort of style that they're going with, which I do really like. Like, I think it's cool to see when a first line comes out and they are making like these dolls super distinct. Like the Nanana ones that we just looked at, no shade to them, because I do think that for what they are, they're pretty cute. But it's more just like, oh, the tiger one, oh, the rabbit one, like whatever, in my head. Like, I don't really think of them by name or think of them as like concrete characters. Whereas with Bratzillas, I do feel like you're getting some of that characterization just from looking at them. And like you can see that these are not just like copy paste of the same doll in like different outfits, if that makes sense. So pretty solid showing, but those are all of the contestants. So now we can get into how I paired them up. For the first rounds, I always pair these up fairly intentionally because like I want to set it up to try to be as fair as possible. That's the goal. Obviously, once first round is over and like the voting controls everything, I can't do that anymore, but we at least try to make like the first round lineups fair. So first we had the first waves from Rainbow High and Monster High G3. These are both fairly recent doll lines and fairly popular doll lines, so I felt like that was a fair matchup. And I've said this in all of my other videos, but I never want to intentionally pit different generations of Monster High against each other in the first round. If it happens later on, again, can't control that. But I never want to do it intentionally because then I think it's going to become a generational battle instead of a which dolls are actually like aesthetically nicer battle. So yeah, we went with G3 and then Rainbow High. And then for the next pairing, I was so curious about how this one would turn out. So it was LOL OMG versus LOL Tweens. Like I needed to know what people preferred. I was so curious about that one. So that was a little selfish, but also they're literally connected brands, so it makes sense. Next up, we have Bratz and Mycene. That's been consistent throughout all of these tournaments. Like, of course, I'm going to pit Bratz and Mycene against each other. And then I, of course, very similarly, like Bratz and Mycene, natural rivals, I had to put the two mermaid lines against each other, okay? We had to go Mermaids versus Mermaid High. There was just, what else could I possibly do there? Next up was G1 of Monster High versus Ever After High, just because, again, like similar to OMG and Tweens, they are sister brands. They came out at similar time frames, like not literally exactly the same. Ever After High was after G1, but similar time frames made from, since they are sister brands, the same company. So comparable levels of quality was like a big thing, a big factor that I wanted to take into account. So paired those two together. I ended up pairing G2 of Monster High with Dream Besties. I feel like this might sound kind of mean, but it's the only way I can put it because it's the truth. I paired these together because they were the two most like budget looking ones. And I felt like it would be really unfair for me to put like a super detailed line like G1 against the Dream Besties in round one, because it's like that's such an obvious win for G1. At least to me, I'm projecting a little bit maybe, but like just on a quality level, they're not comparable. So I wanted to put G2 and the Besties together because I just felt like it was more of a fair fight. Then almost done, we had Novi Stars and Bratzillas. These both came out post Monster High. And like, not that I want to take away the fact that they are their own things and they are good in their own separate way, like outside of being similar to Monster High. I also feel like it's not fair to discount the fact that they both came out afterwards and were definitely designed to be competitors for Monster High. So I thought it would be fun to be like, ooh, which of these Monster High competitors did you guys think was best? And that left not enough surprise with the Magic Mixies Pixlings, which I honestly felt like was a solid matchup. I was a little nervous because like going through these, it's like, okay, I want this one and this one, this one and this one. The last pairing could be iffy, but I honestly think this is a really fair comparison. They're both smaller dolls and they both have like a very cutesy aesthetic, so I felt like that was a fair matchup. But those are all of the contestants and those are all of the like ways that I arranged them for the first round of voting. So let's go ahead and get into the polls proper. So as with all of my previous tournament videos, I did leave each of these polls up for one day, like a solid 24 hours for you guys to get your votes in. And the first one that I did was Novi Stars versus Bratzillas. This was like a slightly less popular poll. Some of them do have more votes than others. There's no way for me to like really control that, so it just is what it is. But this one got 796 votes, and it was a decently close race here. 61% of you said that Bratzillas was better compared to 39% of you thinking Novi Stars was better. So like, not necessarily the most landslide win, but still very clear that the Bratzillas had to move onward. And I do personally agree. Like, I honestly think that the Novi Stars concept is way cooler, and I do like their gimmicks, but when it comes to, like, the details for the clothing and everything, I have to give it to Bratzillas. And then we had Nanana Surprise versus the Magic Mixies Pixlings. Again, not necessarily, like, the most popular poll, but, this one was very clear who the winner was. 84% of you guys out of 617 votes said that the Magic Mixies Pixlings were better. Only 16% of you preferred Nanana, so RIP to Nanana Surprise. I definitely agree with this. No one is surprised. I adore the Pixlings. Like, I don't despise Nanana Surprise, but like, the Pixlings are so cute. Then we had Ever After High versus Monster High G1, and I'm not gonna lie, I definitely saw the results coming for this one. Like, I'm not surprised by it. I just still felt like this was the most fair way to pair these up. So 1,000 of y'all voted on this one, and 77% said Monster High G1 was better than Ever After High. Like I said, I'm not surprised. I am surprised it was so clear cut and obvious. Like, this was not at all a close competition. And I think that's what surprised me because, like, I would agree. I think for me, the theming of Monster High is better because I do think that they are, again, very comparable, like quality wise and design wise. I just like the theming of monsters a little bit better than I like the theming of fairy tales. So, like, I agree that I would vote for Monster High G1, but I think I just expected there to be like it to be a little bit closer because I don't know, like, Ever After High is also so incredible and amazing. Maybe it's just because I'm like on an Ever After High kick at the moment. But I really honestly thought that there would be more people who preferred Ever After High, but it doesn't matter in the end. G1's moving on. This next one was another landslide for the winner. So this was Dream Besties versus Monster High G2. 1.1 thousand of you guys voted, and only 12% of you thought that G2 was better. So Dream Besties gets to move on in the tournament with 88% of the votes. This one was a little bit more surprising to me. I personally prefer G2. Like, again, the monster theming, I'm just definitely more into than sort of just the generic looks for Dream Besties. And I don't like any of the Dream Besties outfits, where at least, at the very least, like, again, Laguna's the quality, but at the very least, I think Claudine looks good from G2. So, like, one is better than none to me. But also, like, now that I'm thinking about it, I can kind of see why this happened, just because I mean, G2 is so broadly hated, and I do think that it deserves a lot of, if not most of that hate. I think I always focus on the hate that's like, oh, the quality was bad or the designs weren't as good. But also, I know that like a lot of the perception is like G2 killed G1 and like G2 ruined this thing that we love. So there is some natural animosity towards G2. So perhaps that is why none of you guys seem to like them very much. Then we had to get through the battle of the mermaids. So we had Mermaids versus Mermaid High. 1,000 of y'all voted, and 84% said Mermaids was better. So they are going to be moving forward in the tournament. I was surprised by how not close this was. Like, I feel like both of these lines have people who really adore them, and both of these lines also have people who are pretty critical of them. So it was like rather shocking to me that this was such a clear-cut win. I honestly thought this was going to be way closer to 50-50, but yeah, poor Mermaid High. Like, I agree. I think out of the two, I like Mermaids better, but I don't hate Mermaid High that much. Up next was My Scene versus Bratz, and I found this one rather fascinating. So this one, 984 of y'all voted, and it was much, much, much closer, a lot more similar to how I thought Mermaids versus Mermaid High was going to go. 57% of you guys said that Bratz was better, so they just like barely got to squeak forward into the second round of the tournament. I could have gone either way. Like, genuinely, I think both of these lines are on sort of a similar level to me. Like I talked about earlier, neither of them is, in my mind, even close to the best line that these brands came out with. And honestly, I think the reason that it tied up so much, because I really don't like Barbie and Chelsea in the original My Scene lineup. I feel extremely neutral about all of the Bratz from their first lineup, but I don't want them. Like, they did reproductions and I didn't buy any of them. Whereas with My Scene, I do really actively like the Madison doll. So Bratz, to me, I feel more just neutral across the board, whereas My Scene, it's like two that I don't really like and one that I do like. So yeah, I could have fully accepted and understood either one going forward, but according to you, Bratz is better, so off they go. Then we had the LOL battle, another one I was very curious to see how y'all would react. LOL OMG versus LOL Tweens. 776 of y'all voted and said that you preferred the OMGs with 65% of the vote. So the Tweens are getting kicked out. OMGs are moving forward in the tournament. I personally would prefer the LOL Tweens. Mainly because I have one and I considered buying another, like from the first line specifically, and I don't want any of the dolls from OMG. But also, I can recognize that OMG is like a little bit more iconic, so I kind of understand the vote going that way. But once again, it doesn't really matter whether I understand it or not. I am at your whims, so OMG moves forward. And then the last match for the first round was, of course, Rainbow High versus Monster High G3. This was unbelievably close. This was so close, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm disappointed. Okay, 1,000 of y'all voted, and with a narrow win, Rainbow High got 52% of the vote and gets to move on to the next round of the tournament. And I'm so sad. Y'all know I adore G3. Even the first line, as I said earlier, I think was so fun and solid. I love the monster themes. I love their personalities. I adore the faces and like the like head sculpts and everything for G3. Like I just really like G3. And that's not to say that I don't really like Rainbow High. Like Rainbow High also has a very, very, very special place in my heart. But if we're looking at the first lines specifically, as much as I gave Rainbow High their flowers earlier, and I do think that they deserved it, and like they were still a really good line, when you put them head to head, if I could only collect one of these, I would want the G3 lineup. So I thought G3 was better. And I mean, a lot of y'all are fans too. You put up a good fight. But yeah, 52%, Rainbow High just barely wins. That brings us into the second round of matches. So nothing was in my control in terms of the matchups at this point. This is your fault from here on out. So the first one was Bratzillas versus the Magic Mixies Pixlings. 917 of you guys voted, and this was a pretty solid win. So Bratzillas got 74% of the vote compared to 26% for Magic Mixies Pixlings. So they are obviously moving forward. I personally prefer the Pixlings, so like I would have liked to have seen them go forward, but also I do completely understand that at this point, you're not comparing the Pixlings to Not Enough Surprise, where like they're both small and kind of cutesy. You're comparing a smaller doll that has a molded on top and limited articulation to a full-size fashion doll with much more detailed clothing that's all removable and like inside eyes and everything like that. So on quality alone, I can understand why Bratzilla's won. Obviously, like I understand people really like the aesthetic too, and I do think some of these dolls are cute. I just like aesthetically, I think the Pixlings are something that I'm more drawn to, but I understand why Bratzilla's won. Then we had a little like MGA toss-up. So we had Rainbow High versus LOL OMG. 1.3 thousand of you guys voted. We got like a weird amount of votes on this one, like a lot more than most. So yeah, pretty strong poll and a pretty strong winning for Rainbow High with 65% of the vote. Not like a landslide win, but still very clear cut. And in this one, I definitely do agree. I still have most of my first wave dolls from Rainbow High, whereas again, I didn't want any of the first wave of LOL OMG. So in this case, I am glad to see Rainbow High get to move forward. Okay, so this next one, I sort of knew how this was going to play out. This one I knew was going to be rough, and it was. This was Monster High Gen 1 versus Barbie Dream Besties. That's just how it ended up happening. This obviously wasn't intentional. This is round 2. But there was a very clear-cut winner, let's just put it that way. 1.1 thousand of y'all voted, and 94% of you said that G1 is better, which, like, that has to hurt for Dream Besties. I feel like a little bit bad, but also I 100% agree. Like, quality-wise, design-wise, concept-wise, I just prefer G1 on every level. So I'm very sorry to the Dream Besties, but G1 clearly gets to move on. Then in a much more fair matchup, I would say we had Bratz versus Mermaids. 878 of you guys voted, and this one was another fairly clear win, but not such a devastating loss as we just saw the Barbie Dream Besties get. 70% of you said that Bratz was better, so they will be moving forward. I do disagree with this one just because, again, like not if we're going Bratz, all of Bratz versus Mermaids, like I prefer Bratz as a brand, but based on the first lineup, I just think Mermaids is like way more interesting looking to me, but it doesn't really matter. Again, I feel like I've said that a few times now. You guys voted and most of you prefer Bratz, so Bratz it is. Third round of votes. I was honestly so like glad when I saw that this was how it like matched up. I feel like this was just so perfect. Completely, again, unintentional, but so perfect. So this was the Bratzillas versus plain old Bratz. This was a really good one, a really close one. Another one where so many of y'all weighed in, like a lot more than normal. 1.6 thousand of you voted on this. And in, again, a pretty narrow win, 57% of you said that Bratzillas was better, which like I'm a little surprised by. I think going off of purely the aesthetics, I would agree in the sense that I think that the Bratzillas dolls are just more visually interesting to me, but the Bratz are so iconic. And also, like, again, if you compare the brands as a whole, I would rather have a Bratz than a Bratzillas. So, like, I'm a little bit surprised. A few of you in the comments were pointing out that Bratzillas wouldn't even exist if it wasn't for Bratz. So that was also something that I thought would make Bratz bump up in the polls, but no, they're finally getting kicked out. They only got 43% of the vote, so Bratzillas move onward. This was another one where I fully expected the results. Like, I knew how this was going to go, but I'm shocked by how much of a landslide this was. So this is Rainbow High versus Monster High G1. 1.3 thousand of y'all voted, and 89% of you said that G1 is better, which that is what boggles my mind. Like, I fully expected G1 to move forward. Like, I didn't expect Rainbow High to win, but I didn't expect them to only get 11% of the vote. That's wild. Like, on a personal level, I agree. I like Monster High better, but I'm just so shocked. We have seen historically that in these tournaments, G1 does do really, really, really well. People are extremely nostalgic for it. But I feel like Rainbow High was also such an important like cultural moment when they came out. Like, it had such a big impact on the doll collecting community that I thought that at the very least, like, newer collectors who maybe don't have that nostalgia for G1 of Monster High would be voting for Rainbow High more. But obviously not. Or maybe like there's just not as many of y'all who ended up voting in the poll. I don't know. Like, that was just so shocking to me. But shocking or not, G1 goes forward. That brings us to the finale of today's tournament. And again, this totally on accident. Like, I didn't plan for it to end this way. But I think this is such a fortuitous ending and such like an interesting ending because these lines are fairly similar. We have Monster High G1 versus the Bratzillas. So like very similar theming, somewhat similar aesthetics. I just thought this was so crazy that this is how the poll ended up playing out. I thought it was very, very interesting. And this is another one where I expected the result, but not by this much. So 1.1 thousand of y'all voted for this finale poll for the tournament. And 91% of you said that you prefer Monster High G1 to Bratzillas, which again, that's another landslide win. So moment of congratulations for Monster High G1. Like, good on them. They apparently have the best signature line. And like, it definitely is very iconic. I said that in the beginning. Like, I can sort of see where this came in. I was just so surprised that the Bratzillas like didn't get more of the vote and didn't, like, I guess put up more of a fight is maybe a good way to put it. Like, only getting 9%. I was very surprised, especially seeing them do so well in previous polls. That was shocking to me. I did see a few comments from you guys saying that like Bratzillas came after Monster High G1, like they were made to compete with G1, so they wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Monster High, which like is true in a sense. But it was just interesting to me because that logic didn't follow through with Bratz. Like, people did say it, but more people still voted for Bratzillas than the original Bratz. But then when it comes to Monster High versus Bratzillas, more people have voted for the original. I don't know. I just thought it was a very interesting way that it played out. But yeah, I mean, G1, it's pretty incredible. So I definitely do understand. But yes, that concludes the tournament. Once again, applause for Monster High G1. They are crowned the best signature line of all time, according to you guys. This was a super fun one to run. As I said at the beginning, it was bigger than any of the others. So like logistically, it was a little bit more complicated. I hope my graphics were okay because I really had to work to like squeeze everything in where it needed to be. But it was also really, really fun to get to pit all of these different brands against each other, especially because like obviously towards the end, we got to some of the most popular lines, like lines that have made appearances in these tournaments before. But at least for the first round, a lot of those brands like haven't been in other doll tournaments. So it was really interesting to get to see them compete and be a part of things again, at least for one round. But yeah, that is going to be it for today, guys. Next round of polls is going to be on formal themed dolls. I don't know when I'm going to start running it, but like at some point that'll happen. So definitely be on the lookout for those. But I'm going to get out now. I actually have to go to an eye appointment very, very soon. So I'm going to do that. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts on the winners and like the tournament and everything down below. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night, wherever it might be. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.